Who should you tip to in Germany? When should you tip? And also how much you should tip in Germany are great questions. In Germany, the word used for tip is Trinkgeld. And by the end of this video, you will know who you should tip or give Trinkgeld to, when you should give them a tip, and also be able to judge how much you should be able to give them. There are no rules or laws in Germany saying that you have to give any tips or Trinkgeld. It is totally down to you. I've given someone a €50 tip before. Actually, I did it twice. But you didn't come here to hear about that. But if you are interested, make sure you watch all the way through to the end, and I'll tell you about it. I've based all of my points on a person flying into a German airport from overseas. And the person will then travel to their hotel using a taxi, which will then stay for a few days. I'm also assuming that after you've checked in, you'll want to go into the local area to find a restaurant where you can eat your evening meal, and also possibly a bar where you can have a drink and then maybe go to a nightclub or disco afterwards. This will give us enough examples to know when you could give someone a tip. I've been living in Germany now for more than 20 years and I am very happy to give tips. And sometimes I give too much. After living on minimum wage for so many years, I understand how difficult it is to live on a budget. I also understand how hard it is for people, and this is why sometimes I'm a little bit more generous than what I should be. I thought this was good for you to know because I don't want you to think that you have to give the same amount of money as I do. It is all based upon what you want to give and what you feel is right. It's also important to understand that Germany does have a minimum wage, so the likes of hotel staff, bar staff, or waiting staff are not relying upon your tips for their salary. With that said, minimum wage is by far not enough for people to be able to enjoy like nice holidays every single year without having to go without somewhere else. Many students tend to also work in bars, restaurants, nightclubs just to earn a little bit more cash. Students are also restricted upon how much money they are allowed to earn based upon the benefits that they do receive. So giving them a tip does help them out a little bit, I'm sure. The first obvious choice to get to your hotel upon landing in the airport is to use taxis. It is super common in Germany to give taxi drivers tips, but before you start giving your taxi driver a tip, make sure that they haven't driven you around in a circle just to make you pay more money. So before you use a taxi, make sure you plan your routes. My advice is to look onto Google, see what it suggests that the route should be, and then keep check of whether or not the taxi driver is actually sticking to that route. And if not, tell them. So my rule of thumb for giving a taxi driver a tip is, did they drive safely, were they polite, and did they take the correct route? I will normally round up the fare to say like the nearest €5. So as an example, if the fare comes to €13.50, I will more than likely give them €15. Now, actually, come to think of it, if the fare was like €11.50, I would more than likely give them €15 as well. But like I said, that would be based upon if the person was nice and polite. Generally speaking, I don't really use taxis. However, if I have gone to the football stadium and after that, when I'm cold and wet and I just want to get home, I will jump in a taxi and I will normally give the taxi driver at least a €5 tip, or say the price of a beer that I would pay in the stadium, just because I want to. Many taxi drivers also accept payment by card. But if that driver is in a rush, you'll see how rude they are when you ask to pay by card, so be very careful there. As I mentioned previously, Germany does have a minimum wage, and most people working in hotels are earning a little bit more than what minimum wage is. In order to work in most hotels, you must have completed some form of Ausbildung, apprentice or qualification or training, which means that you will normally earn more than minimum wage. So they don't totally rely upon tips. Now, in addition to this, if you do go to a hotel where they have like a bellboy or someone that is going to carry your luggage to your room, these hotels are normally quite expensive already. So I'm not quite sure whether someone who's paid for such an expensive hotel really cares about giving a €5 tip. And I'm also pretty sure that these types of people are not watching my videos about how much to tip in Germany. What do you think? But if you want to put an amount on how much you would give someone for carrying your luggage to your room based upon the fact that that is their job, I don't know, say like €2-3 seems perfectly fine to me. But as per all the other things, it is totally down to you and how you feel about it, and if you can afford to give a little bit of extra money. Okay, so now let's talk about giving Trinkgeld in restaurants. Predominantly in Germany, when you eat in restaurants, you will always be served by the same person throughout your meal. Once you have finished your meal and you decide it's time to leave and you want to pay, all you have to do is really easy, is indicate to the waiter, waitress by raising your hand up in the air and then wolf whistle, or simply by shouting, "Oi, check please." No, just kidding, don't do this. There are many things in Germany that are considered rude, and this is definitely one of them, so definitely do not do this. If you are interested in things that you shouldn't say or shouldn't do in Germany, I've made other videos about this, so if you are interested to watch them, I'll leave a link in the video description below and maybe you can watch them later. Okay, serious now, let's talk about Trinkgeld in restaurants. It's very common in Germany for a group of people to go to a restaurant and eat their meal and then pay separately for what they have ordered. So don't be shocked when the waiter comes up to you and says Zusammen, oder Getrennt. What they are saying is Zusammen means all together, so do you want to pay for the bill all together? Oder Getrennt means that the waiter will then ask for each individual to pay for their food separately. This is a totally common thing to do. Germans aren't really that famous for just splitting the bill. It's like a normal thing where everyone will just literally pay for what they've ordered and that is it. And they each then pay for their own tip. As an example, let's say that you have a waitress and what you've ordered comes to €17.90. So this is the time where you really need to decide how much tip that you are going to give the waitress. Let's just say that you give her a €20 note and you want her to be able to keep the change. What you would do is give her the money and say Stimmt. That is basically the same as keep the change. Now, if you decide that you want to pay by card and you know that the bill is €17.90 and you want to give the waitress then say like €1.10 tip, you would then say to her, "I want to pay by card please," and €19. She would then know to type in €19 into the machine and that would then be deducted from your account and she would then get €1.10 tip. In German restaurants, always pay the waitress direct, never leave the money on the table. And once again, always give the tip to the waitress herself, don't leave it on the table. If you did think that the service was bad or the food was bad or something like that, this is the right time to be able to tell you the waitress. Another thing for you to do for a nice thing for the restaurant is to leave a review on Google. Maybe take some photos, write a comment to recommend to other people whether they should or shouldn't eat there and how your experience was. This really helps the restaurants. Giving tips in bars in Germany works pretty much exactly the same as it does in restaurants. I don't really want to dive too deep into talking about bars and restaurants and how they work. It is also very common in Germany to go into a bar and sit at the table and a barmaid or barman will then come over to the table to take your order and bring you the drinks when required. The same principle works in bars as it does in restaurants, so not really much there to learn. Now, if you do go to places like Irish pubs and so on, where you need to pay per drink at the bar by yourself and there is no table service, what I tend to do here is then just round it up to the nearest euro. So if it's like €4.60, I'll give them €5 and so on. If you are staying in a hotel for say more than a few days, it will be that you are going to get maid service. So they're going to come and then make your bed and clean your room and clean the bathroom, etc. Now, I think it's only correct in Germany or in hotels, generally speaking, to leave some money on the bed or something to indicate to the person cleaning the room that this is for them and they're not going to get done for stealing or something like that. I tend to leave the money there every single day on the bed, so whoever cleans the room knows that they will get it, rather than leaving money at the end of my stay. That kind of like gives all of that money to one person and seems to be kind of unfair because it may be that that person didn't clean your room all through your stay. But this once again is down to you, and I would leave say maybe like €1-2 per day when that person's cleaning my room. Now, I must say I've never used room service when I've been in a hotel in Germany, so I wouldn't know really how much money I would give, but to be quite honest with you, I'd probably give the same amount as like a food delivery service, bringing my food at home, like a pizza delivery or something like that, so say like €2-3 once again. During your stay in Germany, if you do decide to go to a nightclub or disco, German nightclubs do not tend to accept cash as payment for drinks. What will normally happen is when you go to the nightclub, they will either give you like a card, which you'll take to the bar every single time you want to drink, and the bar person will then stamp your card with the amount of money that you need to pay. And then when you want to leave the nightclub, you then have to pay whatever drinks that you have actually purchased during your time there. Other nightclubs and discos, you will then buy like vouchers, so like a €10, €20, €30 voucher, which works on the same principle. You take it to the bar and then they write down how much you've used already, and once you've spent, say, the €10, they'll just rip it up and throw it away. And if you want to buy another one, then you'll buy another one, and then when you want to leave, you can just leave how you want. And if you don't use up all of the money on the card, then you can take that card back and then be reimbursed with that money. So there's not really any tips in like discos and nightclubs in Germany, so don't worry about doing that type of stuff. Now, if you're wondering where and when I gave someone a €50 tip, we're nearly there. Just hold on. This brings me nicely onto different services that you might pay for whilst in Germany, such as like massages or cosmetic treatments, going to the hairdressers or barbers. It is also very common in Germany to give someone a tip where they are essentially providing you with a service and also some form of like personal treatment. In these situations, I really base my time on how much I think that person is then earning, and also how much time and effort and how much care they took into whatever it is they are doing. So really, to put a figure on this would be wrong. I would more say I would use like a percentage of how much it cost to then work out how much of a tip I want to give that one person. Now, a good rule of thumb here would be like 10%, but if it's like a real high cost, I would probably start thinking around about 5%. But as far as I'm concerned, when someone is really doing me a service specifically, then I am more reluctant to give them a higher tip. These videos take me around 8 to 15 hours to then plan, record, and then edit. And it also costs me a lot of money for all of the equipment I do. But they also bring me lots of pleasure and enjoyment, so that is nice too. However, it is really such a positive thing to receive feedback from your viewers, be it through a like, a thumbs up, or someone leaving a comment telling me how much they liked my videos. I think supporting people is really an important thing, especially in today's society. There are many people going through some hard times right now. This brings me nicely onto the €50 tip. Before the problem started in 2020, I travelled from Dortmund to Cologne every single day to then go to work. This also meant I didn't have much time to go and see my local hairdresser in Dortmund to have my hair cut. Now, after a few months of doing home office and all of the hairdressers all being closed, it was finally time to get my hair cut, and I decided to go and visit my local hairdresser once again, because I had time. Now, I had decided already that I would definitely support her because she was been out of work for a few months. Initially, I wanted to give her €100, but I thought that was a bit too much. So I thought what I'll do is I'll go for 2 haircuts and give her €50 for each time. Now, she was super grateful for the support, and she told me how difficult it was for her over that time, basically not earning any money or very little money as well. Now, there are 2 reasons why I did this. The first reason was that because if there wasn't lockdown, I'd have eaten lots of restaurants every single day, and then I would have given lots of tips to the bar staff and waiters and so on, and this would have been easily over €100 over a couple of months. And the second reason is it makes me really happy to know that I've actually helped someone. On that note, I really hope that this video has assisted you in some way. I really enjoy making these videos, and I would really appreciate a possible thumbs up if you did like it. Now, if you didn't like it and you want to give a thumbs down, please write in the comment section below why you didn't like it so I can learn from your feedback and make the next video even better. But I'm sorry that you didn't like it, and I would really appreciate your feedback. Now, if you would like to see more videos that I've made about Germany and the way of life here, then I'll leave a link in the video description below. Maybe there'll be another video on my channel that you like that you want to watch. I really hope that you enjoy your stay here in Germany, and would be really interested to know how much that you tip, and do you tip more or less, and when and why do you tip. So this is the part now where I unfortunately have to tell you that it's the end of the video, and that there are other videos on the screen right now which I recommend to you to watch. Otherwise, look out for any videos with my face on and make sure you click on them straight away. So take care, stay safe, and there's only one thing really left to say now. Do you know what it is? Blondie, curly fries, stay safe, see you soon. Bye-bye.